Hey, and thanks for checking in. I'm gonna start doing a video on myself prepping for going to a lake and fishing. I'm going to go to a small, what you would consider a small pond in most places. It's a lake here in Connecticut. Um, it's a deep lake. It goes all the way down to 90 feet. Nice gentle slope. Um, right now, the weather conditions are during the night it's getting into the 20s, and during the day we're looking at a high of 40. While we're fishing, it's going to be it's going to be right around 36 to 40. So this lake, this lake's pretty unique. I'm going to give you a basic idea of the layout. I drew this up. I'm going to get a nice whiteboard up here so I can do this in the future. But starts off, the rim of the lake is 1 to 2 down to 6 feet, then 20 to 35 real quick, 35 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 80, and then it's flat at the bottom with 90. Here's the deal with the lake. You can't take your boat on it. It's kayak canoe only. No trolling motor allowed. No sonar allowed. So it's your best guess, right? I went out on a similar lake about 2 weeks ago, and I spotted fish right at 55 feet, and they were staying there. So I'm gonna guess right off the bat they're at 55 feet. Now, this lake as well has probably got 1 to 3 feet of weeds that runs down the slope, and it's going to go all the way to the bottom, just from past experience. There's a large structure in the middle of the lake. It's a building. It floats, and it's right around the 90-degree area. And we have the 50. I think that's where the fish are going to be. 10, and then 1 to 6. It's going to be myself and 2 other people in the canoe, canoe. So I'm going to draw from my experience on the lake. This particular one doesn't get fished heavy because, well, they don't allow big boats on there, so the guys, they leave it alone. I've had friends pull out several 6-pound bass. That's what I'm going for tomorrow. And they pull them out on dark colored lures, usually around the 10-foot range. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a quick tidbit. I did fish this lake earlier in the week. Not much happened. We're fishing mainly shallows. I was using a favorite of mine. This is Rebel crawfish. Dives down to about 6.5 feet, maybe 9 if you pull it hard. Nothing. Tried this crankbait. Thought I got a strike, not for sure. Let it down deep. It was about 9 feet. I think I got a head. Tried this crankbait. Another lipless. It's a good sinker. This one has a good action while it sinks. Got a good strike and missed it and let go. How he didn't get hooked, I don't know, because this guy's got, I can't even hold it without getting hooked. Missed the fish. That's fine. That happens. So earlier in the year, fished the lake. Um, Fished it with a red crawdad. This guy's been beat all to hell. Not too good. It's got a lot of action though. I mean, you see these guys trailing behind. This guy picks up some hits. They did all right. So I'm going to keep in mind the red color. And then I have this leech. Top notch. One fish after another with the leech. So they're definitely feeding on leeches in the lake. Then I have this longer power worm. Nice long tail with an action. It can get in the weeds and it still provides action because that tail's so long. They hit on that well. In the shallows, two baits that worked well. Kind of get off a big fat shad minnow profile. No complaints there. Nothing too big though. All the big guys came from this tiny little 5-inch leech. So, my tactics. What am I going to do? I know the fresh water doesn't work well. Or, excuse me, the shallow water doesn't work well. Especially this time of year. Crankbaits kind of getting there. They weren't diving deep enough to really get into where I thought the fish were. And the other baits, well, they perform, but not quite up to my expectations. I'm going to try to target the fish and get what I want. What I'm going to do first off is it's going to be a crowded canoe. 3 people. It's labeled as a 4-person canoe, but it's only going to hold 3. I'm going to bring an extra spool ready to go on my reel. This will allow me to hot swap. Say I get a bird's nest you can't fix, I can throw this guy on there, tie a lure, I can be casting real quick. What am I going to do to catch those fish? Gosh. What am I going to do to catch those fish down at 50 feet? I would love to do a Texas rig. Texas rigs perform well. They do this, they do that, but I've got 100 yards of line out. That line, monofilament. I will be using 10-pound Stren. It's going to limit the depth that I can get to using these lures and weights. So a standard Texas rig is it's not going to cut it. It's going to dig into the weeds. It'll be low. Won't be a lot of action. I can picture these fish maybe hovering above the weeds because they're at a safe depth. They're not like the more shallow water fish. They're not dug in the weeds or they're hiding. So I'm going to take a weight like this. I love these guys, by the way. Put your line in, twist the rubber. You're set. I'm going to do a Carolina rig so I can have 1 to 3 feet of line exposed to cover the weeds. Whenever you're reeling up, pay attention to how long the weeds are. If they're 6 inches, well, then pull it down. If they're longer than that, then let it go out. With the Carolina rig, I'm going to keep in mind what baits really worked for me on that lake. Well, I had the red crawdad. They love crawdads. That's what they're feeding on. The shad-colored minnows, they love it. Hooked on it. That worked well. That combination, your bullet weights, this is not going to cut it going down that deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to take a Gamakatsu 4-aught hook. I'm going to run a couple of baits. First, I'll probably start off with this this little finesse worm. This guy's produced a lot of big bass over the years. Well, over the years, I guess it isn't that old, but it's a good bait. That coffee flavor, I don't know what it is about him, but it holds them on. So I keep that guy ready to go. If they hit on that, if I catch, let's say, a 1 pounder, I'll put on a larger bait with the same profile, the same basic look, a little bit darker, maybe catch a bigger fish. If not, I'm going to go to these Yamamoto fellas. Why would I go with that? Well, it looks like the leech, you know. It's a good 6-inch Cinco. Gonna hook it up in the front like you normally would. Nice long leader. Working super slow. These guys do action when you think action wouldn't happen. So, throw that guy in there first, see what happens. If nothing, we'll go to one of my favorite baits of the early spring. And why would I do early spring? Well, it's almost spring. It's a power bait. A buddy of mine has labeled this Black Magic. It's half pink, almost a pumpkin seed, and then black with some action. So it kind of covers that bit of leech and perch and earthworm with an action that it's hard to argue with. Plus, I mean, power bait, they do hold on longer. They give you more time to set the hook. They're more aggressive with it. If that doesn't work, all else fails, I'm going to go to American eel. Now this is a striper bait. It's got a lot of action on the tail end, and it's got a huge amount of weight in the front. So I'll just tie directly to it, because he'll go down to whatever depth I tell him to. He's made for trolling. So if I cast him like I'm casting a regular bass fish, he's going to get in there. He doesn't have the colors necessary that I'm looking for, but he is a natural prey fish in that area. The male eels stay in fresh water throughout their entire life. The females do not, but they're still food. Now, that's where I'm sticking. I'm gonna have some fresh line on the reel, bringing an extra spool just in case. I've picked out my baits. I'm gonna go with what I picked out, but I'm also gonna I'm gonna bring along my standard dip into the water 6 to 10 feet, maybe deeper crankbaits, and see what happens. Being this cold, we're gonna definitely wear a life jacket. Let people know where you're going. This is cold water. It can be dangerous. A lot of people say, well, you're not going to catch a bass because the water is less than 40 degrees. I agree with you. It's less than 40. They still eat. They're still going to eat for me. So I'll see you later, and hopefully I reel in that big 6-pounder and I can show him on the channel. Have a good one.